So the age-old debate, which one's faster, cut-off wheel or cutting torch? Let's find out today. I have got to get this project done today because the customer needs this in the hayfield tomorrow, and I am going to be on a shutdown for a week after this. So this has to get done as fast as possible. So what we're going to do, we're going to make this as strict as possible so we really know, because I want to know. Now, I'm a little bit biased. I was taught by old school welders. Two 90-year-old welders taught me a lot of the stuff that I know, and they were very old school. They believed in torches. So I've learned a lot of stuff, and I've done it a lot of different ways, but I've never timed myself. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to cut this side with the metabo. I'm going to cut it as much as I can. Unfortunately, there's going to be a place or two where I may have to go back and forth, and y'all will be the judge on what I've done and what I haven't done. But we're going to really play it all by ear and take a look at it. I feel like this is a good example. So we're going to cut this all the way off with a metabo, and then we're going to do all the cleanup that we're supposed to do. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to cut it off with the torch. There's usually going to be more cleanup associated when you use a torch. That's why a lot of people said that the torch is slower. So we want to see completely unbiased. I'm going to time each one of them with this stopwatch, and hopefully we're going to find out which one is the best. Old school or new school. We'll see.
See there the pipe that I've already cut with a torch, and then underneath I'll have to cut some with a torch as well. But I'm going to cut as much as I can on this little outside weld with the metabo, but I won't be able to cut all of it.
Now there may be a little bit more that's not cut loose from here, but from what I can tell it is. As you could tell over here, there was a little bit to cut on this side. I couldn't get all the way through, but this is a real life example. There's one spot that I've already cut with a torch. I cut that off camera. I did that on both sides because it was going to have to get cut anyway. So what I'm going to do is, since this is how far I can go with the metabo, I'm unable to go any farther. That's a realistic example. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here, and we're going to save that time and we'll recalculate it. I'm going to cut the same parts because over here, I'm not going to have a choice. There's a weld underneath here that has to get cut no matter what. And then the rest of this weld is going to have to get cut with a torch, and you don't have a choice but to get there. Some places require you to only use a metabo. They will, or you can use like a sawzall with a metal cutting blade or something like that. Once you get to doing that, it's just seriously not efficient at all. But some places, that's what you have to do. In this example, we have no choice but to cut that with our cutting torch. So we're going to cut everything on this side that we cut over here with the metabo. We're going to cut it all over here with our torch. And we'll cut the exact same amount with the torch that we did over there, or roughly. And then from there, we'll go back and we'll clean that up and we'll get them both clean. And that should give us a rough idea. I want to hear in the comments, which one do you think is going to win? But don't give it away for anybody that watches the whole thing.
I'm starting with a brand new double alt tip here. I wanted to give it every fair shot that I could. After I get it in and I get it started, I actually did end up having some problems lighting the torch because the torch tip actually did need to be cleaned. So you can see me step off screen here in just a minute to actually go clean the tip. But it is real life, so I left it in there and I left it in the time. The same as I had trouble with the cutting when I had to change the blades. I had some trouble over there. But like I said, guys, it is real life, and I wanted to keep everything as fair and as realistic as possible. I actually forgot to take this setup I have here. I usually wear this when I'm grinding. It helps protect my eyes, and then it also protects my lungs. But I forgot to take it off, so I just lived with it. Forgive me if there's a couple of boring laps here. I just wanted to keep the camera rolling the whole time whenever possible. This one little section, I actually cut more here with the torch than I was able to with the metabo, simply because it made sense to start the cut on that other side.
Okay, so right there is about the point where we're pretty much even. So I had to cut just a little bit more on the torch. On the other side, you saw I only cut to about right there, but it makes sense on the torch to start over here, and I'm actually able to get back there. So that's a win in itself. So there's pluses and minuses. But now that we've got all that cut, even though I did cut just a tad more, it wasn't that much more time, let's finish all the cutting. All the rest of the cutting is going to have to be done on a torch with both of them, because there's some places you just cannot get with a metabo. I could get a sawzall in there, but it would take all day. There are jobs I have to do that, but on this job I don't. So I'm going to cut it loose. It will be off the timer because that part won't count. Then I'll turn it over, and once I get them turned over and I'm prepped and ready to grind, then I'll restart the camera, and I'll restart the camera on both of those and restart that timer, and we'll time specifically which one does it take, how much longer does it take. Obviously, my prediction is this one will take longer to clean up. The question is, will this one end up being the same, or will it take longer, or will it be faster? That's the real question.
So of course, this is where I have to go ahead and cut all of this stuff out with the torch before I can grind it. And this is everything that I couldn't cut with the metabo, so I left behind for afterwards so that it wouldn't mess with the time.
What we put into the time was this right here. We probably could have cut it faster if we wasn't worried about saving this, but I usually try to cut things as if I'm saving both sides. In this case, we're only saving this. But that's what we're left with right here, so I'm going to have to clean that up. It looks pretty rough. And then, let's see, which part of it was part of the actual competition. This right here, and then there was one cut right on the very edge, and you can see where the metabo was right there. We barely got any with the metabo. That right there, the rest of that had to be cut with a torch. It could not be cut with the metabo. Okay, and then of course all of this is not part of the contest because you couldn't possibly get that. So we're going to clean up a little bit of a nick right here, and what I'll do to make it fair is I'll just clean up the whole pass all the way across on both sides and try to make that as fair as I can, even though there really isn't that much there from the metabo. This one's darn near clean. We're going to use the same pattern, guys. We're going to start this, and I'm going to put it in my glove just like this, just like I did before, and then I'm going to put my gloves on, and I'm going to go right back to grinding, and I'll do that on both of them to try to mimic and try to be fair as I can on both sides. So once I get my my grinding stuff on, then I'll come over and I'll start that. All right, guys, so I tried to make this as fair of a competition as I could to go through. Like I said, it was a little bit difficult because there was a lot of places where the metabo just wasn't going to pull it off, and I had no choice but to use the torch. That's where the torch a lot of times shines, and everyone should have a torch no matter what, because the torch is always going to get into places that a metabo just can't get into. A lot of times you can't get into it safely, and you saw I ran it without a guard just to increase the ability of it, because the guard does decrease the ability, even though you probably should run that guard. So I did that just to kind of show you the differences. But overall, I haven't done the math on it, but we'll take a look and see who is the actual winner. Okay, guys, so what's the verdict? Who won? Was it the metabo or was it the torch? Cutoff wheel or torch? Which one was it? Cutoff wheel took 2 wheels to do, all right? Now, before I give you the answer, I know that this was not, you know, some people are going to say this wasn't perfect, so leave it in the comments and tell me how you think we could have made this more fair, and if you would like me to try this again using your pointers, okay? One thing that happened, you saw that I was struggling with the cutoff wheel, all right? But that's a fairly normal thing. I struggled with one wheel, and then the other wheel wasn't so bad. Now, they have quicker release things that you can buy, and I suggest that everybody goes and gets those, okay? But not everybody has them, so I didn't want to use this for this contest, okay? So the other thing is I actually had a very real example with the torch as well. I got a brand new tip. I expected it to cut perfectly. It ended up having just a little bit of something inside of it. I didn't have to do much, but I just kind of had to rub it on here, and boom, it was clean. But that was unexpected. When you're head to head and your seconds count, then every little thing counts. But the reality is both of them were real scenarios. Could they have been a little bit different? Yeah, they could have. But this is the real results. I do this for a living. I do this a lot, and I use both of these scenarios. I tried to give both of them as fair of a shot as I could possibly give them. Okay, so on the torch, we had 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And that was from the time we started cutting to the time we were grinding. Now, to the time we got done completely grinding. Now, to be fair, if I had to make this look absolutely perfect, it would have taken a little bit longer. But being wedged together like that, I knew that all I had to get was flat. So this was a real scenario. Same thing here. This was at an angle. So if I would have had to get both of these perfectly flat, neither one of them would have made the cut, okay? But being that I knew what I had to do, I knew that if I got to an angle right here, I would have less to clean off. And that was the bottom line. So 7 minutes and 30 seconds is what I ended up with. On our metabo, what everybody says is faster, I ended up with 13 minutes and 23 seconds, okay? That was everything that I did. All right, so I know everybody's going to say, because that's almost double the time, that no, that's not fair, that you did something wrong. There's no way that a metabo can be that much slower. You are right. In a lot of cases, a metabo can be faster because of cleanup, but not in every single case. And honestly, I didn't expect them to be this far apart. I expected them to be a little bit closer together. If I had that little tool, which I'll show you, it would have been a lot faster. I wouldn't have had as much of a problem. But because I didn't have it, and because I was in the real world, you're not always going to have those things. That's kind of the way it went. And you ask anybody that uses a cutoff wheel in the field, what you saw happening, that was a real scenario. That was a real thing that does happen. The real Achilles heel for the cutoff wheel is, first of all, I wasn't even using a guard, which in most cases, you're going to want to try to use a guard. And in 90% of the cases, you're not going to be allowed to use it at all if you don't have a guard, okay? And I did it without a guard, which allowed me to do more and allowed me to be faster. The other thing is there were several places, it was impossible for me to get in here and get with a cutoff wheel. So guys, this was just education for educational purposes. I just wanted to test it head to head and see. So drop it in the comments. Tell me how you think I could have made this more fair. Tell me what you think I did wrong. But more importantly, go buy yourself a torch and learn how to use it.